So on to this poll. Most Americans say tax the rich to what? To balance the budget. You understand how disconnected our politicians have become from the American public now, where the Republicans are involved in all sorts of BS, coming out with these new cut-go rules, which say that the only thing that we can do that will increase the budget, the deficit, is cut taxes. Anything else, we can cut taxes, even though that increases the budget, even though that's apocalyptic. We can't do anything else, except if it's also repeal healthcare reform, which would also increase the budget. So there's two things that we can do. The worst thing that we can have is a growing budget deficit unless we are cutting taxes or unless we're killing healthcare reform, which would also increase the deficit. You see what the principle is there, right? The principle is that Republicans are full of bullshit. That's the principle. We're full of bullshit. Whatever we can do that measures up appropriately to that standard, we will do. And then you have the Democrats, or at least the Obama administration, beginning to position the American public for austerity, beginning to position the American public for cuts in retirement insurance, basically saying to middle class and poor people, look, we know you're not living much longer at all. We know that your chances of being out of work at age 55 are extremely high. We know that your chances of ever finding employment again are very low. We know that you're working jobs that make it very difficult to go past the age of 62 or 65. Well, sorry. We're going to cut Social Security even though it has nothing to do with the deficit so that we can continue to cut taxes for millionaires. And according to a 60 Minutes Vanity Fair poll released on Monday, 61% of Americans polled would rather see taxes for the wealthy increased as a first step to tackling the deficit. So while the audience of this program may be relatively small to those who are watching Kirk Cameron on CNN, your perspective on what should be done is completely in line with the majority of Americans. The next most popular way, chosen by 20%, was to cut defense spending, which is also a smart idea. So we have 81% of the people who want to do something other than cut Social Security. In fact, only 3% would cut Social Security. Only 3%. I got to think that amongst the 97% of the American public, there's some Tea Partiers and some Republicans in there too. So it's nice to know that at the very least, our leaders in Washington are ignoring the entire country as they prepare to cut Social Security benefits. Only 4% would cut Medicare. That's a government-run, an entirely government-run, single-payer healthcare system. Only 4% of Americans would start by cutting Medicare. And then things start getting a little bit hinky. Which part of the world would you fix first? The largest proportion of respondents said 36%. Washington. Well, I don't think they're talking literally fix Washington, D.C., although that's probably a good idea. Statehood might help, some type of proper representation. But I think what they're talking about is they're saying to our elected leaders, you seem to be running on an agenda, you seem to be running with an agenda that is completely divorced from the reality of the American public. One that is completely fueled by corporate America. By corporate and financial interests that outweigh those of the average American. And by average American, I'm talking about 90% of the American population. I'm not talking about some corn-fed guy sitting in the middle of the country who says he doesn't like gays and wants to is afraid that Obama's coming from his gun. I'm talking about 90% of the American public. And the one thing that they all share, aside from their different religious values, their different moral values, their different social perspectives, is that they're all victims of a theft of their money upwardly distributed to the wealthiest 10% of this country. Period. That's the one thing that we all share at this point. %, would fix the Middle East. 14% would choose Haiti. That's actually quite impressive.